maybe it is easy for us to give up our time or money, but maybe it's really difficult to be generous in other areas in life. And maybe that's where God's like, that's what you need to work on. I mean, that verse is also talking about going to be a disciple, give everything you have. But I think we need to be willing to listen and obey God if he's calling us to say, give up this thing in your life or give up that. It doesn't have to be money, doesn't have to be time. It could be other things in your life too. And if God...
Why are you stroking your leg like that?
I'm itchy.
Dude, please just scratch it.
Dude, I'm trying to talk.
He's trying to talk and you're
He
doing
had such a serious...
Hey, I'm on a podcast here. You want to
Look at the way he's
chill?
sitting too. He's like, he's got his hand up like this.
Why
He's
are
like,
his legs so big?
dude, you got massive legs,
They're
bro.
like tree trunks.
And they're so hairy. There's barely any skin with that hair, dude. Oh, Luke, I promise you, I was trying so hard to listen to you. Imagine if that was just like a close-up, just like...
The look on your face, though, when you're trying not to laugh.
Well, because I didn't
killed
even
me.
notice that at first, but then I saw Joey smiling. Let's just start over.
Welcome to Campfire Council Podcast. Joey's has big and hairy legs. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Campfire Council Podcast. Thank you so much for being here with us. We appreciate all of you. With us today on the council, we have with us Brandon, Noah, Milo, Joey's, and myself, Luke. Today, well, actually, it's been a while. It's been like, 3 weeks since we recorded last, I think?
Something like that.
Feels like a little bit.
Sorry.
But definitely happy to be back here. We had an eventful couple past weeks. Brandon just got married.
Woo! Yes, sir.
What
Yes,
was
sir.
it, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago,
So
August 2nd.
he's a married man.
Yes, sir.
That was a lot of fun.
Sir.
A really great wedding. A lot
Yeah.
of good memories. Great
Yeah.
food. Good dancing.
Yeah.
So
Box.
Box. We ripped
Yeah.
some box. Go
But,
check out the
Yeah, a
Instagram.
little disappointing, but
you guys did it. Yeah, you guys did rip some Pokemon, and we got the new.
Yes, sir. Represent. For those that are listening, stop listening and come over to YouTube and then look at this. Oh, yeah. Whoops.
sick.
But yeah.
And then go back to the platform.
And then
And then
Yeah.
go back to Spotify.
maybe go to another platform.
Yeah.
And listen
Yeah.
to
Do all
yeah,
the
yeah,
platforms.
Yeah. And then make sure to like on all of those.
Speaking of that, we are on all platforms. We are on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, all the other stuff. So,
The Nintendo Wii,
yep, we're on Nintendo Wii.
Xbox,
You can definitely.
Switch,
GameCube's still running.
N64.
Oh,
That one was a tough one.
yeah, that
So-
was a hard pull.
If you do come across this video or on like Spotify or Apple Podcasts, do us a huge favor. Click that subscribe button or just keep listening. We appreciate all your support. The goal is to get as many people to listen so we can have fun, spread the word of God, and have a good and rip more Pokemon cards. So,
Yes, sir.
but today we're going to get into it. We are going to be diving into just a topic and discussion of generosity. So I do have a question to start off the pod with.
I will not be giving you money.
Joyce, you're giving me all your money.
Okay.
So what would we say as followers of Christ is our role when it comes to generosity?
Do it. Okay.
I don't think we need to elaborate. Let's move on.
Yeah. And that's the end of the podcast.
I think generosity goes to reflect like selflessness and humility because I mean, yeah, that was kind of the end of my thought.
That was huge.
Pretty big.
That was it though. Like
Yeah.
yeah, like when you're generous, it means that you're not just only focusing on yourself. So that shows humility, and selflessness is the exact same thing. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Would you guys say that it's generosity if you're doing it just to show like you have like to flaunt your money or something, or to
What do you
flaunt
mean?
what you
Oh,
have?
like
Like you're giving,
Oh, I
but
see what
to
you're saying.
show like, oh, look at me, like
to
I've,
say like, oh,
yeah, I
no.
can give.
I don't think it's genuine.
Yeah.
Genuine, you like that word?
I love that.
Genuinely, do you like that?
Yeah.
Literally, genuinely.
Literally.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, I don't
You wouldn't
think it's-
even classify it as generosity then.
Yeah,
right?
it's just that. Then it's prideful,
Yeah.
and it's yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're like reading ahead of my notes for like
I know.
4
I'm
way
just-
down.
Oh,
I know.
dude.
I'm
That's
jumping
good. That's
ahead.
good. We're like giving a little tease. That's yeah.
Generosity though is like time and money. Is like what it comes down to, because like obviously with our money, you know, we could all be tithing, we could be helping people out, whatever it may look like with that. But then time, I feel like, is that more important one, where it's that more selfless act of like you may be short on time, or you don't want to give up the time because you feel entitled to your time. And so I feel like it's those two things combined.
Yeah, I think if you think about that, time is more valuable than money. I mean, we have to spend our time at work to make money, and giving up of time and money are just like the two most difficult things when it comes to generosity, and I think the most valuable too, in ways that you can be generous.
Cool.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. So we can go into another question I have too, which is going to be, at what point do we know that we're actually being generous enough? So let's say we are working on being generous, or just throughout our day-to-day lives. Like, how do we know at what point we are being generous enough? Yes, Joey's.
It helps when you're raising your hand in class and you flutter it up top so that the
Does
teacher, catches the teacher's eye. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think when it inconveniences you in some way, or you're giving up something, would be.
Elaborate.
So like, let's say I needed $5 to get on the bus.
Okay.
Thankfully I don't have to get on the bus. But let's say I had to. And someone else needed that $5 to get on the bus, but they didn't have it. I give them the $5 so that they can get on the bus and go. And that's inconveniencing my life, but it's also helping someone out, being generous.
So are you saying that's too much, or that's okay?
Oh, I'm saying that's right.
Yeah, okay. I agree. I thought you were saying that.
Oh, there he goes again. He's putting words in my mouth. That's
thought
your
you were
problem.
saying-
You're thinking again.
I thought you were saying if it inconveniences you, it's you don't need to do it. Like, then you're being too generous. And I was a little confused.
Oh, can you be too generous?
I think so.
Yeah, when you put people ahead of yourself too many times, and it starts becoming like unhealthy almost, and you're like, because you need to focus on yourself, and you need to be watching out for like your what?
But
do we?
do you? I don't know. I'm
Well,
just trying to push back on it.
She.
That, I mean, there is a back and forth, I would say, with that. Like, I feel like you, in the mindset that we have as human beings, and human beings just being selfish in a sense, like, we automatically have that, like, I guess, thought process of being like, no, I don't want to give up what I have to someone else. Like, I feel like that's a normal human reaction. And I think as well, when it comes to that human reaction, part of that is like when we're being generous time and time again to, like, let's say friends, like, every so often, like, you know, one of your friends is in school or whatever and doesn't have like a good paying job, and you're not in school, and you have a full-time job and whatever, and you take them out to lunch, like, and you're always paying for them, and you do it time and time again, and eventually it may get to the point where, like, then your friend is just expecting you to pay for them. And so then it becomes like I don't want to say a manipulative thing, but, like, it can get to that where it can be unhealthy, to where you're constantly, you know, think you're doing the right thing, but then people can take advantage of you. And I think for ourselves, like, we have to, you know, be like Jesus, and we have to be innocent as doves, but as shrewd as snakes. And so being shrewd is being wise. And so we have to be wise in how we're handling our generosity in order to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves, because even Jesus tells us that our body is, or not only is our body is a temple, but our mind, and we should be taking care of ourselves and looking after ourselves. But I think it is a both and, because the perfect example is Jesus is always going to give no matter what. And he's always going to be the generous one, or the generosity. And so, like, that's the perfect example. But
Why don't we strive to do that then? Why is it out
Because
of
we're-
our realm?
because we're humans. That's why. So, like, on a human level,
Well, I would be careful with that because like Jesus was a human too, you know.
But he was God.
Jesus is a friend.
Yeah,
of
but
mine.
you know, he
Jesus
still
is my
had
friend.
his own like he still experienced what we do as humans. I think that he very well could have been selfish.
Right.
You know, I think that he's God, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Jesus still had like the same temptations as us. So I think that he would have had the temptations to like focus on himself maybe
Yeah.
when he shouldn't.
Mhm.
But I will also say that Jesus took time away from people and like
Right.
you know, he did spend it praying. I don't know of a whole lot of times in the Bible where it says that Jesus just like snuck off to like I don't know, just do whatever.
Hanging
to, like,
around.
Just hanging around. Just like
Yeah.
I feel like there was always a good reason of why, you know, he was maybe stepping away.
Yeah, when
and-
he would go to pray or rest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not like he was going
Yeah.
around and like,
Usually.
you know, playing video games or something.
Right. So like that's what I'm getting at is like again he is that perfect example of like he knows to take care of himself in the sense of like he's connecting with God, he's taking the time to refill his cup in order so that he can pour into others.
Oh,
And
there
that's
you
a
go.
great example I love to use is like you have to fill your own cup, but it's hard. Like it's hard because you want to be just generous all the time and you want to give and give and give, but it can get to that point where it's unhealthy and it can be destructive. And like I go back and forth on it all the time because I'm like, I don't know, like God just tells me to be generous, so I'm like, and it says we're gonna be taken advantage of, so like I'm just like, you know, it's
Yeah.
like it's that back and forth in my head. But I would say 9 times out of 10, it will always be that moment of like you are the generous one, and then you being wise, you'll know when to, you know, say like I can't right now. Like right now, it's just not a good time, or whatever.
What would you guys say? Do you think is harder for you when it comes to generosity? Do you think it's time or do you think it's money? So let give an example. Like let's say, would it be more difficult in your life to, let's say like go volunteer, give your time of like an hour or something, or just to like give money to like help a cause? What do you guys think in your life or in general is just harder to do? Because I can start. I think for me it's probably money. I think it's difficult. I think it can be easier. I enjoy spending time with people, and if I have the time, it's easier for me to give. So it's harder being, you know, a single young adult male just to like be willing to give up that money. That's something I'm working on. But I just want to know what you guys' thoughts were on that. Like if it comes to time or money, like what's something that would be harder for you guys?
For sure,
Looking at
money.
me.
I just want to hear from
Who,
you.
me?
No,
I was
I
joking,
would
though.
just agree. Like for sure, money. Just because money will always come. I know that we all have decent jobs and that God will always provide in that way. But yeah, like we just have short, limited amount of time here, and I always try to do my best to like to remember that and to not hold on to my time because it's not all about me, and like but yeah, with money, I mean, when it gets tight, it gets hard, and then you want to like go back into your turtle shell and just not do anything or just lay low, and then something comes up, and you're like, oh shoot, like I felt led to donate. Massive frog down here.
Yeah, that was wild.
Yeah, I have a
Frog.
frog in my throat.
That's the first time I've heard that, I think.
Really? I have a frog,
Frog
my
in your throat?
That's
never
the
heard
first
that?
time I've
Yeah.
heard that.
Dude.
What?
Yeah.
You guys are weird.
Wow.
We're not weird, right, Joey?
No, super normal. Super.
Yeah.
This is a very normal podcast.
Yeah.
Where was I going with that?
Watch the 0.5s. You might.
Disagree.
Going off of your, I don't know if you want to.
No, I forgot what I was
No,
going to say.
he's done. He's done.
Yeah.
So here's a good question. Why do we need to be generous in those tough times? So when you said like, I wasn't even thinking about that too yet. Money, we can make more money
Always.
always, hopefully, but
Yes.
time, it's like it's limited. We don't know when that time's gonna run out. But
Mhm.
when you're talking about money, it's like when we're in a tight spot, like the bills are racking up, car breaks down, you lose your job. let's say you have a kid, whatever it is, like, and the money, it's getting tighter. Like, why should we be generous? Like, why do we need to be generous with our money then, or our time when we're struggling in those situations? Like, what's the importance of that?
I think we'll learn a valuable lesson when we are generous in those moments, because when we're better off, it'll be easier for us to like be generous. At least in my opinion.
There must be something really important about it, because I think Jesus talks about money more than any other topic in the New Testament. So there's
Money? Yeah, you said that before too. I feel like it's love or forgiveness.
No, I think it's actually money. I
More
could be
than love and
wrong.
forgiveness. Let's
I could be
check
wrong,
the
but-
specs.
It's for sure one of the top.
Yeah, he talks
Yeah.
about it a lot.
Yeah.
So it's obviously important.
There's something really important about it.
Yeah.
About, I mean, for sure, like not worshiping money, not loving money.
Nani?
No, can you bring up you're my
AI
verse guy?
overview.
Can
I
you
know,
bring
I am
up
your verse guy.
the verse with the woman who
Yes,
gives her
Noah.
coins?
That's what I was trying to do. I was
That's-
literally
Wow.
I was on the thought process
I feel
right
like I
there.
don't really hear about Jesus talk that much about money. I mean, I don't know. Okay, here's what AI overview. I don't know how reliable AI overview is,
All the
but
specs.
yes, it says yes.
Oh, great answer.
Money is one of
One.
one of the most talked about topics in Jesus's
Teachings.
Jesus,
Just let's get past
I'll
it.
see myself
His
out.
teepee.
Past it.
we were here.
Appearing,
Wanna move on.
appearing in
We're
15%
past it.
of his teachings, 11 of his 39 parables. It says that the Bible has more than
The energy
20
for this pod right now is awesome, by the way.
has more
I
than
just- we keep
2,300 verses on
Keep
money,
rolling.
wealth, and possessions.
Oh shit!
Something's in the water.
So that verse
Something's in the
that you're
way.
talking about, that you asked me to look up, and
Before
Oh.
are we gonna say it?
Oh,
I would
okay,
say
yeah.
hold on to it for a
I'm
second.
holding on to it.
But you got
I'm
it
holding.
though.
I got it.
That's huge.
Stomp on your right
Bookmark
foot.
it.
Don't forget it.
I did.
What you were saying me, like you're asking there has to be something, or saying there has to be something super important about it, because it's mentioned so many times in the Bible. Like Brandon said, it's one of the most talked about topics. But in a second here, Noah's going to read a verse that explains it really well. Like I was saying, like why it's easy. Like, okay, let's say you get that promotion, you have that job, you're doing really well. Life is good. You come across someone who's in need. It's easier to give, because it's like, oh, my bills are paid. I have everything I need. I got groceries, a roof over my head. The kids are good. Everything's fine. I can give this extra money to this person, or I now can give this extra money to church.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's a lot easier. It's like, oh, I spent the money I need to spend.
Mm-hmm.
I'm comfortable. Now I can give. That's easy. Is that correct? I don't believe so. But why then do we need to give when it's difficult, when we aren't making the bills, when we don't always have food on our table, all those things aren't going well? Like, why should we still be giving and being generous?
Which leads to Noah.
Yep. All right. This is Mark chapter 12, verses 41 through 44. So the end of the chapter. We see it says, Jesus sat down opposite the place where the offerings were put and watched the crowd putting their money into the temple treasury. Many rich people threw in large amounts, but a poor widow came and put in 2 very small copper coins, worth only a few cents. Calling his disciples to him, Jesus said, "Truly I tell you, this poor woman who has put more into the treasury than all the others. They all gave out of their wealth." Wow, that was hard. "But she, out of her poverty, put in everything, all she had to live on." And that's like the peak aspect when it comes to that statement of like being generous, even though it's difficult, even though it's hard. And like the concept that I've always heard is we give because God gives us everything. Everything that we have is God's. And so like that's why we give it. and that's why we can give it. Does that make sense?
But then,
Definitely.
is everything that we have supposed to be given away?
I
Good
think that all
question.
depends on your relationship with God and if you feel if he's calling you to. I mean, think about little throwback to last episode. Go check it out, episode 19. There's a squeak. There you
I'm
go.
sorry, what?
319.
Let's start it over. We're gonna rewind.
Yeah.
All right. Go check out last episode number 19.
It's great.
With our first guest, Ethan, and we talked about just mission work, and we discussed how, like, not everyone's called to go overseas. Not everyone's called to be a missionary. You can be a missionary doing mission work here at your home, at school, at your church and everything, in your community. But I think there's certain people that God has and will call to give away, like, almost everything. We've seen it in the Bible. There's people throughout history who have. But I don't think everyone as a follower of Christ is called to give everything away. I think God can bless us with good jobs. I think he can bless us with good salaries. He can bless us with wealth in many kind of ways. And I think it can be a little more difficult to be generous when you have more. But if you have a selfless, loving heart that's after Christ, you can be very generous with those things and use your what you have to honor and glorify God.
So I have I have another verse.
Okay.
Talking about this. It's Luke chapter 14. It's your book. Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 33. In the same way, those of you, this is Jesus talking. In the same way, those of you who do not give up everything you have cannot be my disciples. And that's Jesus talking about the cost of becoming a disciple of him. So what is your guys' thoughts on that?
Wait, can you repeat it one more time? Because
Yeah.
is that after the parable of the guy? Or that's not even a parable. That's just the dude that's like, Lord, I've followed all your commandments. Like, what do I do to get into heaven or something? He's like, sell everything you own and give it to the poor. That's not that. No.
So it says, verse 33, in the same way.
In the same way as what, though? Is this after something?
Yeah, here, I'll back up.
I'll check this.
Verse 31.
Good call.
Or suppose a king is about to go to war against another king. Won't he first sit down and consider whether he is able with 10,000 men to oppose the one coming against him with 20,000? If he is not able, he will send a delegation while the other is still a long way off and will ask for terms of peace. In the same way, those of you who do not give up everything you have cannot be my disciples. Salt is good, but if it loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is fit neither for the soil nor for the manure pile. It is thrown out. Whoever has ears to hear, let them hear. And so it talks a little bit more before that, talking about hating your brothers and sisters and hating your father and mother, that they cannot be the disciples either. And it's just like, it's such an interesting concept. And like, what I think Jesus is trying to make out to us here is if you have any sort of mental or emotional, I mean, I don't even know about emotional, but like any sort of attachment to where you feel like I can't give this up to God. I can't let God have control of this. I can't give this to the will of God. Then becoming a Christ follower, because that's what we're doing. We're giving up what we have to follow after him, is not going to be as easy or as fulfillable as we may think. Or as he wants us to be, I guess. Does that make sense? I don't know. Maybe I interpreted it wrong.
I liked what you said, how when it comes to the things that we're not willing to give up. Because maybe it is easy for us to give up our time or money, but maybe it's really difficult to be generous in other areas in life. And maybe that's where God's like, that's what you need to work on. And I think we need to be, in certain cases, like I said, I mean, that verse is also talking about, like, if you want to be a disciple, give out everything you have. But I think we need to be willing to listen and obey God if he's calling us to say, like, hey, give up this thing in your life or give up that. And like I said, it doesn't have to be money, doesn't have to be time. It could be other things in your life too. And if God...
Why are you stroking your leg like that? Dude, please just scratch it.
Dude, I'm trying to
Yeah,
talk.
he's trying to
you.
talk, and you're
He had
just...
such a serious.
Hey, I'm on a podcast here. You want to
Look at the way he's
chill?
sitting, too. He's like, he's got his hand up like this.
Why
He's
are
like,
his legs so big?
dude, yeah, you got massive legs,
They're
bro.
like tree trunks.
It's just so like, and they're so hairy too. It's just like, like there's barely any skin with that hair, dude.
All right, we're gonna have to back.
Luke, I promise you, I was trying so hard to listen to you, but I just like imagine if I was just like a close up, just like.
The look on your face though when you're trying not to laugh.
Well, because I didn't
killed
even
me.
notice it at first, but then I saw Joey smiling, and then I was like, is he laughing at that? Okay.
I was just in the moment.
Oh
All
man.
right,
Do you wanna-
backtrack.
I don't know what I'm
Backtrack.
saying.
Let's just start over.
Gosh.
Welcome to Campfire Council Podcast. Joyce has big and hairy legs.
Yep.
On this episode. All right.
We can jump back in. So, I think those are really good verses that you brought up, Noah,
Yeah.
because it shows that there's like a connection between giving and just like the fundamental relationship that we have in Christ. There's something. There has to be something really important about it. Just the way that it's talked about, the way that money is mentioned. There has to be something about like our human nature is to hoard and think only of ourselves, not help other people. Like human sinful nature is all about self. It's all about like me. How do I actualize myself? How do I conquer the world? Like that's the essence of sinful human nature. And if you go back to like Adam and Eve, that like it was about them. It's about their pride. That's why that was their sin that led them to eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So there must be something about like the life of a Christian is supposed to be one of giving and selflessness because it is a rebellion against the human nature, the sinful human nature that Jesus defeated on the cross. I think that there must be something to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know if you're going to touch on Matthew 6 at all. Dude, I'm rolling with the verses right now just because.
No,
like,
go for it. I didn't have that in my
brain.
notes.
So this part is, well, it's Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, greatest sermon ever. And the subheading is giving to the needy. So it says, Matthew 6, verse 1, "Be careful not to practice your righteousness in front of others to be seen by them. If you do, you will have no reward from your Father in heaven. So when you give to the needy, do not announce it with trumpets as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and on the streets to be honored by others. Truly I tell you, they have received their reward in full. But when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be done in secret. Then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you." And so like that is I feel a direct relation to the story of the woman in the temple, because a little bit of the backstory in there, like in the temple treasury, they would have basically like a kind of like a bucket in a sense, or like a big plate kind of thing. And when you would put your money in there all at once, it would make like a big loud noise in and throughout the temple.
So everyone could
So
hear.
everyone could know.
Yeah.
And that's when it talks about like they're announcing it with trumpets and like they're doing it loudly so that they're recognized by others. Because if you do that in the temple, then people are going to look at you like, wow, what a good giver, right? And so then we was talking about the woman who only gives the 2 coins. Like that would not have really been heard in the temple. There would have been a lot of commotion and whatever. So like you would not have heard that. And so same thing, like you're doing it in secret. You're not doing it to receive glory. You're not doing it to, you know.
Do you think that was like the equivalent to like guys with loud cars?
Oh,
that just, like,
100%.
you know, like down the street.
Yeah, fart cannons.
They just throw their coins as hard as they can into the
Yeah.
thing. They're like,
Hi-ya!
dude, check it, bro.
Yeah,
I
I think so.
I really love that verse. So it really puts just a different way to look at it, because we do think, well, the more money, the better.
Yeah.
Right. The more money can help. And in certain situations, yes, there are people and countries and communities that need that money to help build and support in certain areas of life. And that's true. But even you said, like, those, was it really Pharisees or just richer, more wealthy people?
Yeah, just the wealthy.
Yeah, the wealthy are there. It's easy for them because they have so much money. Like I said, they can just throw it away like nothing. And it's just like look how much I'm giving. But always remember, like, let that be a good lesson even to myself. It's like, we don't have to have all the money. We don't have to have the wealthiest status. Like, what we can give is, as long as we are being generous and we have a loving and grateful heart and we're following after Christ, like, God's gonna be grateful for it. And keep that in mind. He can use that, even if it's just very little. That's all we can give. Maybe we are really struggling and we do the best we can to be giving as much as we can to the community, to church, to someone in need, or like with your time. Maybe you're in a really busy season of life, but just giving that extra time to, talk to that friend, introduce yourself to someone, maybe talk to or make that phone call. So just keep that in mind with that verse. I think I don't know. I really like it.
I in thinking about this, I think there's like more than just generosity involved with giving and tithing. One thing that I have experienced is that it's very difficult to tithe, and it feels like working out in a way. Like it feels like something that you have to get better at, and something in my spirit is like being exercised. And I think part of it is not, so one aspect is we need to be generous, which is like, how much do we care about other people, and want to help other people. Another aspect, there was another one, it's slipping my mind, but the second one that I was thinking of is trust. So like, one of the reasons why we don't want to tithe, or we're afraid to tithe, is because of our lack of trust. So I think that, like, a part of like giving and being generous is God is exercising in us our faith towards him. It's like almost like a way to exercise your faith. There's probably many ways in a Christian life, but one of them is to be generous and to say, like, that I don't know what the future will hold. I might need this money in the future. I don't know, but I'm just going to trust in God anyway, and just and give to him.
What is that? Noah, you're my verse guy.
Gotcha.
What is
That's a good point.
the let tomorrow worry about itself? And it talks about, like, does God not take care of the birds?
The birds.
I remember the
Yeah.
other aspect I was thinking. The not displaying your generosity. So it's like generosity, humility, which I think that the idea of not displaying your generosity is humility, and then trust.
What about obedience too?
Yep.
In certain, I think, because there could be times where we are being generous, but God is maybe calling us individually. I think it all depends, once again, on your relationship with Christ. I don't think, maybe it's God's calling someone to give in a certain way compared to someone else, but maybe God's saying, you know what, like, Mila, I'm calling you, I'm asking you to, do this or give that. And that could come down to obedience of just feeling God calling you in that situation.
Yeah.
And it comes down to then to trust, obedience, that's discipline, and generosity, like, all in one.
Mm-hmm.
After Noah reads, we will do a story time.
Nice.
I have a story.
I'm looking forward to that.
I'm really looking forward to that. Same chapter, Matthew chapter 6. This is the end, and it's a long passage that kind of talks about it. But it says, starting in verse 25, "Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothes? Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or stow away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not more valuable than they? Can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? And why do you worry about clothes? See how the flowers of the field grow. They do not labor or spin. Yet I tell you that not even Solomon, in all of his splendor, was dressed like one of these. If that is how God clothes the grass of the field, which is here today and tomorrow is thrown into the fire, will he not much more clothe you, you of little faith? So do not worry, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or what shall we wear? For the pagans run after these things, and your heavenly Father knows that you need them. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own.
Dude, I need to read the Sermon on the Mount again. It's so good.
So good.
So good.
Where in the
It
Bible is
cuts,
that?
it cuts into
Matthew 5 through 7.
Okay.
Those 3 chapters are just like golden, dude.
you. Mm-hmm.
They're so good.
Which is so funny that we talk about it like it's such a good passage when literally it's just a cutthroat passage of like cutting into you of like,
That's the
all right,
good stuff. Though.
all right,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
like
you
the
suck at this,
real-
you suck at this, you suck at this. Like
Maybe that's the next podcast episode then. Who knows?
that would be
Ooh,
fun to do.
maybe.
Ooh,
That'd be
a
Joey.
good one.
Dropping hints.
Joey.
Really quick, then
No,
we'll
no,
get to
yeah,
your
yeah, no,
to
totally.
story
Let's
time with
discuss
Joey's.
The part of the
Uh,
show where Joey comes out and shares.
One thing too, just encouragement too. Like I know a lot of times being generous can be painful. I'm not gonna lie, it can be in the moment of like realizing that this is something you should do or God's calling you to do it. And in the moment, right when you're doing it, it might be painful because we don't always want to give up our money. We don't always want to give up our time, but it's super rewarding. And once again, like I'm not saying to go out and show yourself to the world, like, look what I'm giving, look what I'm doing. But
show you the.
even by just like sitting down and having a good conversation or smiling at someone or like giving a little extra money to help out a cause that's helping other people throughout the world, like that's a good feeling right there. And I'm sure you guys have experienced it, and I'm hoping people listening have experienced it too. But like that's such an incredible feeling, and I love that, and that motivates me to want to do it more. And you go about it with the right heart posture with that. But just an encouragement for everyone out there listening. But now
That's
we
literally
really-
setting it up as like. Before I share this story is like just having the right heart going into a situation, one, and then just seeking humility about like, when you do something good in life, you're so quick to be like, oh, look at me, like look what I did, like, oh, everyone should follow after my example or something like that. But I think you just need in life to take a step back and realize that like why you did it. And you did it for God. So I just want to get that out in front so I'm not seeming like somebody like, oh, like, look at me, look at this great thing I did. But a very simple thing. So I've been going on a lot of walks recently, just like to the gas station up the street or like down the street or whatever and back. So I started my walk to the gas station and I saw this guy that I recognized out in the parking lot area. I was like, oh, I recognize that guy. And probably a week before I saw him, he was just sitting on the curbside in front of the building, just not having a good day. Like I could tell he looked very rough. I didn't know if he was on something or he just was just not having a good day, but I could tell that the scenario was not really looking so hot for him. So at that time, the week prior, I chose not to do anything because it was a busy time. It inconvenienced me, right? I was tired from work. I just wanted to go home. I was not willing to give up, 5-10 minutes or whatever. And I made that decision. And I felt really bad as I drove away. And it just stuck with me. And I was like, I couldn't give this guy 5 minutes of my time to ask how he's doing. And so it really bothered me. And so I said to God, if I see him again, I'll talk to him, and see what's going on. So I was on my walk, and I get up there and I saw him, and my heart just dropped because I was like, wow, there he is, like what a coincidence. And later to find out it's even more coincidence because he doesn't really live close to here. So I walked up to him, and he approached me by saying, "Oh, do you have a lighter or whatever?" I was like, "No, I don't." And he's like, "Oh, do you have $2 you could spare? You know, I'm kind of short inside." So I gave him $2. I never have cash on me. I don't know about you guys, but I never have
Me neither.
cash.
No, me neither.
Not
So-
anymore, no.
Yeah, not anymore.
It's always funny. Every single time I have cash on
Yep.
me, there is always that person that's like, "Hey, do you have like a couple dollars to
Right.
spare?" And I'm like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
like crazy how
It's
that
probably
works.
set up that way.
It
right?
is,
Yeah.
100%.
So then I gave him $2, and then I went inside and I was grabbing a water, and I grabbed him one because like, yeah, that seems like the right thing to do because I recognized him. I knew I wanted to do something. So as I was walking out, I was like, "Oh, hey man, I got you a water," and I could tell like he was already kind of shocked, right? Of like that. He's like, "Whoa." He's like, "Thanks, man." He's like, "I really appreciate that." He's like, "You know, it's hard out here." And then there's that moment when you're talking to someone, we've all had it, and they just feel a certain level of comfortability where they just give you their whole life story. And personally, I don't mind that at all. Like I invite that. I love talking to random strangers. I think it's great. As long as there's not 1,000 people around. But I'll talk to anybody, seriously, like no judgment whatsoever. And so I was talking to him. His name is James. And I got to know James about his family life and how it was messing up him currently. And I got to hear, you know, his story, his struggles. And I was telling him, I was like, "Man, like that's really rough. I'm sorry there's not more I could do for you. Like this is like I almost never have cash. You know, I have a few dollars on me." And so like he was telling me about, he's like, "Oh, I have construction experience. I've been looking to, you know, get some interviews and stuff." I was like, "Oh, okay." I was like, "Well, I probably have some clothes at home." Like I don't even know why I said it too. It was one of those where like the Holy Spirit took over totally. It was like just gave me that light and just showed me that like, oh yeah, I've that reminder like, oh, I have some clothes at home I could give him. So I rushed home. I'm like, all right, I'll be right back. And then walked home, and as I was getting stuff ready, I kind of just paused for a minute, and I just realized like is this enough? And I was like, well, I feel like I should do more. And like I just looked at my bookshelf and I saw the Bible there, and I was like, yeah, I should probably throw that in there too, because we were talking before about God. I was like, I had asked him, I'm like, "Can I pray for you?" And he's like, "No, man, I just want to keep it real." He's like, I'm not really about that. And I was like, all right, I respect that. Like, it's okay. Like, so I headed back over there. I got out of my car, you know, said what's up. I was like, "Oh, here you go." I just had a couple polos and some band T-shirts that he was pretty hyped about. And he was just shocked, and it was just really cool to see the look on his face, you know, that rewarding feeling that you were talking about. And he was just like, "Wow, this is crazy." And then I felt led to ask him again. I felt like it wasn't wrong for me to ask him. I'm like, "Well, is it cool if I pray for you?" And he just kind of like stopped. He's like, "Yeah." He's like, that'd be cool. We could do that. So like that, it's the first time in my life I've ever prayed for anyone like that. Like I've prayed for friends and family and stuff, but I've never randomly just been out in the street. Like it's not something that I would have imagined myself ever doing. So that's kind of why I'm sharing it. It was like I made the decision to be generous in that moment, and then so much came from it. And so then I got to pray for him. We just kind of went our separate ways, but I had just wrote a quick post-it note, like somewhere along the lines of, you know, God loves you, and you know, things are going to get better, something like that. And so like I don't share this story to be like, "Oh, look at Joey, wow, he's such a great guy, like what a pal," you know, like no. Yeah. Like it wasn't even me in a way. I'm sure we've had moments in our lives where we're either saying something to someone or we're doing something and we're like, you feel out of control, but you realize that trust that you were talking about, that we are like in control because God is in control of that situation. And so I was just willing to do whatever, and like the one thing kept leading to the next. It was like, okay, I can do this, I can do that. Mm-hmm. And so
isn't that cool how the Holy Spirit just works?
Yeah,
like
dude,
that, like working
crazy
inside you to just do something that you know you wouldn't do. Like that's just crazy.
And that's honestly probably the first time in my life that I've felt that. And so that was really like really reassuring for my faith. It was just like, wow, all these things had to line up. He was from the opposite side of Milwaukee, so he wasn't anywhere close. So for him being there was pretty random, but not so random.
Yeah. That's super encouraging though. That story is awesome. Because I mean, you got to think like, and we're not, like I said, we're not putting you on like a pedestal, but it's like,
no,
like that's something like Christ would do. Is you said like it was inconvenience for you, like, right? You probably didn't want to, at least the first time around.
Yeah, the first time around, I was tired from work. I just like, I just want to go home.
Yeah, like because you said it's inconvenience. You want to go home. You didn't want to take time in your day, but like, you made the decision, and
I chose the wrong one.
He came across your path again, and like, that wasn't a coincidence. Like God placed him there and placed you there at the perfect time. And he presented you with the opportunity again, and you decided to be like Christ in that moment. That's awesome. And even not just like, hey, do you need a couple bucks? Or like, here's a water, and be like, okay, cool. Nice to meet you. Have a good day. It's like you took time to ask him his name. You found out that he had a job interview. Like you went and got clothes that could potentially help him look more professional for this job interview. And like maybe that's a turning point in his life to get a job and get back on his feet. Like at first you asked him, hey, can I pray for you? And you said no. Because that can be awkward. Like I don't know if you guys had that experience. Like
it was awkward.
Yeah, like it can be super. Like they're like, no, I'm good.
I was a little scared. Yeah, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, like even like you got people walking by.
This is
like
weird.
It's weird, right?
Brandon Speedway's parking lot.
And he said no, like respectfully, and you're like, okay, it's fine, because like he didn't know you. Like, why should I let this guy pray for me?
Yeah.
And when you left, I feel like he was probably thinking like, well, that guy was nice, but he's not coming back. But like you came back again with clothes and a Bible and all these things. And when you asked him again, when you felt led, like he's like, you know what? This guy has not only just given his time, but he's been showing me love, and he's actually showing that he cares about me. And like, there's got to be something different about him. Like I'm sure he's had hundreds of people give him money, probably give him some food, maybe some conversations here and there. But he then felt comfortable for you to pray for him. And like that's super cool, because who knows? Like we don't know what's going to happen now. The Holy Spirit, that's all in, the Holy Spirit's hands, but you played your part and you showed him the love of Christ, and that's huge. Imagine if I could have more actions like that. I'm guilty of it all the time. Like I come across people, I've done my best to help out, here and there, but it's like there's multiple times every single day where I could go out of my way to help someone, but I don't. It's like,
I think another reason it all kind of happened too is because I feel like that's my call in life, is just to show the love of Christ. And I was praying for that. I was just like I don't know. I'm not certain about many things in life, but I know that God has given me that gift of being able to do that. And so this is like, hopefully the jump start to something bigger than it is.
Right. And what's interesting about it too is just how you prayed about it.
Right.
Literally you said, like, I can just picture you like, I'm uncomfortable. I don't really want to do this. I don't want to talk to this guy. I don't like, whatever. But then it was like, but Lord, if the opportunity is there, if you make it possible, like allow it to happen. And then it happens. And it's like, and it's God just going, all right, you said, said the next time you see him, you're going to do it.
You ought to know.
And so like, that's what's awesome. Like that's what's cool. It's like God is going to put you in those positions if you pray for them, because he knows that you're longing after him, and in doing so, like he's gonna make those opportunities available. Like that's just awesome.
I'm gonna tell you guys something. You guys are gonna listen. You're gonna listen good.
Yes.
Right?
No, I'm not.
Listening good. Oh, we're not listening
No.
good? Okay.
Yeah, mute.
If
Mute.
and those listeners, listen up good here. If you guys want to improve like your faith and your journey with Christ, like pray and ask. Like if you want more solid Christian followers of Christ, like friends in your life, pray about it. Like ask God. I done that before, and if I didn't, these guys wouldn't be in my life.
Well, I would. You'd be stuck with me.
Yeah, I would.
So
like, I did. I prayed years ago. I prayed to God for asking, please provide me with more strong brothers and sisters in Christ, and God blessed me with Noah, Brandon, and Milo. And Noah, I've known you. I've known
Milo
you
and
for.
Noah.
Wow. Milo
I've
comes
known
first.
you
I
for a
kinda
while
came
too,
up
but we got a lot closer. But like
Yeah.
Respect your elders.
God is listening, and like
Quia.
if you want to be more patient, ask God for opportunities to be patient. I promise you, He will present opportunities that you're gonna be frustrated, and you get to practice your patience.
But keep an open eye too. You know, like
Yes.
don't pray for it, and then also try to take action as
Yes.
well, because it takes, you know, I do believe in the power of prayer, and I do believe that God grants us certain things, not everything, but certain things when we pray over them. And so like praying on it, but also like, because I'm assuming you're talking about like the group, you know, that.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, so I'll make this super short. Basically,
Make it super long.
as long as I can.
Yeah.
So basically, I think all of us were pretty much praying like around that time that like we would have more like religious friends. I think
Yeah,
I don't.
Christian friends.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
I
Christian
definitely
friends.
was, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and then so of course then somebody ate a bat, and then COVID happened, and so that was awesome, and so it kind of brought us all together. But like we made the decision once we got the invite to go to that group to go to it, not just
Right.
to like
Yeah,
stay in
absolutely.
our comfort zone and be like, nah, like I'm good.
Yeah. And yeah, like I'm saying, it's not just like you pray about God. God is all powerful. But, you know, let's say, instance, like you're praying for a friend to be in your life or for patience, and God can give it to you. That's possible. But a lot of times that I've experienced is God's going to present the opportunity. Now we have the choice then
Mm-hmm.
to, when it comes to frustration and, you know, being patient, we can choose to be quick to anger and be mad and avoid that, or we can decide to take a deep breath, step back, listen, and be patient. So I'm not saying it's going to be easy,
Absolutely.
but I think I believe if we pray and ask God for these things, and our prayers and our heart are aligning with God's will and who God is, He will then present us with opportunity to improve on those things. And it may not be right away, and we may not catch it right away because we may not want to see it. But I do truly believe that He will then just be like, all right, you want to be patient? Here you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is crazy.
So then how do we? Oh shoot!
Dude, that guy's
See,
throwing his coins.
He's throwing his
He's throwing
coins.
his coins.
Throwing his coins.
My goodness.
Oh shoot! What was I going to say? Oh yeah. So
That's such a you and Christina thing, by the way.
Oh,
That's
shoot. Yeah, that-
crazy.
yeah.
Oh, you guys are like married or
Dude,
something.
that's
Dude,
wild.
that's crazy.
Mm-hmm. It's like you like live together or something.
Yeah. It's like yeah. Like I'm married or something.
Yeah.
So how do we like set ourselves up for success when it comes to generosity? So like with the whole situation with Joey, you know, like so many people could just be like, okay, you know, maybe I'll just give this dude like some money and then I kind of just want to like peace out and go home. So it takes a lot of strength, honestly, to like put aside your own personal wants for that. So how do we like change our, you know, our thinking into like, you know, being more open to that?
It's funny you say that because like it almost makes me think of like it's not necessarily like, and I'm not saying that what you said was wrong at all. That is not what I'm saying.
Right.
I'm just like,
Here we go.
it's right.
Click.
Buckle up.
Gosh, I'm horrible. No, but like it's not necessarily setting ourselves up for success. It's setting up and putting God in a position for success. Does that make sense?
Dude, I'm heated.
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
heated.
I know. I just pooped on your parade.
I'm so upset.
I know.
Pooped on my parade.
But like, you get what I'm
I
saying?
absolutely
Like,
know what you're
it's like because
What the?
if we were doing it for our own success, like then it's like we're trying to be prideful and make ourselves known.
Yeah,
But, like,
I think
I
what-
know what I know
You know what I'm
exactly.
saying?
was-
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
I'm horrible and I just
No,
like
you're
to
good, you're
rip
good.
on people. It's fun.
Yeah. So how do you
No.
think that we should then like find a way to invite God into our hearts so that we can be more generous?
You have a finger.
I do have a finger.
I hope you have more than one finger.
Hey, how many fingers?
Did. I killed a man with this thumb. Great movie. I think just being intentional and really listening, active listening, I think goes a long way. Short answers.
For
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, you think about it, like, in that situation, what does that person need in that moment? Like, how can we meet them and meet their needs and show them the love of Christ? Maybe for someone, it's maybe they need a ride somewhere, or someone needs some extra cash, or they need some food. You know, it's not going to be very helpful if someone needs a ride and you go and give them a burger. You're just like, all right, man, here you go. Like, it's looking to see, like, what does this person need and how can I help them in their time of need? Just like if we're struggling with something, like, we would hope that someone would be helping us with that situation to resolve it or help resolve it. So listening.
Do we just to piggyback off that? Do we think it's easier? Not trying to belittle the situation, but do we think it's easier to help someone to be more generous for someone we don't know, or for someone that we do know?
I would say do. You saying which one's easier?
Yeah,
I think it's easier for someone that we do know.
Okay.
Because you have personal relationship with them, and like they've also invested time in you. You know.
But what if it's someone you know and you don't necessarily like or get along with?
Yeah. What if you can
Oh, that's
easily
what you mean?
push
Oh, I
them
got
off
you,
to
I
the
got
side
you.
where, like, oh, they're kind of annoying, or something like that, and they're just
versus
kind of
someone that you just met on the streets.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I feel
see,
like
I see.
I feel like
Then-
I'm more generous to the people I don't know.
Yeah, then it might
Yeah.
be a little bit different because like then you might have a history with that person where there's
Sure.
like multiple things that they've done
Yeah.
like against you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where we need to even be more accountable in our generosity of, like, the people that we do know.
Yeah.
Also, I got some beef really quick. I gotta
Luke's got
lay in the
beef.
table.
Ah, you got.
Let's set this straight here. All right, so
Arby's.
Dun dun dun.
Thank you.
we as followers of Christ, like, I know I've done it plenty times. I'm guilty. I don't know if you guys have or not, but like,
Should we just wait
Oh, wee woo.
so you can cut
They're
it?
after that guy that was
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
sixth.
Coins.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep that in
All
there.
right, go.
coins.
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 Overall, I'm just gonna say, like, Christ loves everyone, right? He loves us, he loves you, and he loves everyone that he's created in all of history. And even if you believe, or people tell you that, like, giving money to certain people because of, you know, oh, they're gonna spend it on X, Y, or Z, and it's not gonna be helpful, like, do not let that get in your way of being generous or listening to God.
Oh,
If-
like making assumptions.
making
what they're gonna-
assumptions.
I
Yeah,
see.
it's like
What they're gonna do with
maybe
the money.
they will, maybe they do. Maybe you give someone cash, or maybe you have conversation with someone and they listen and it doesn't mean anything to them.
Yeah.
But maybe God placed in your heart to go talk to that person, and maybe down the road they remember that conversation. But don't let that get in the way of, if God's placed in your heart to go talk to that person, to go help them out, to go give them money, whatever that looks like, and just go do it. And if you give them cash and they go spend it on something that they choose to spend it on, so be it. But you are also being obedient to Christ, and you're also working on your generosity. And
So you have beef with people that.
no, I'm just saying, I don't have beef with those people. I'm just saying that was my beef I want to lay on the table.
Man, beef, dude.
But
So, I think going with that, like you were talking about intentionality and whatever, I think the biggest aspect that leads us into being generous people is love, and being just a loving person towards other people. And we find this. Paul is writing to the church in Corinth in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, and this is where we get the love passage in there. But right before it, in verse 3,
Love is kind. That's what you're talking about.
yeah, like
Oh,
that's
okay,
the
that
love.
whole thing?
Yeah,
I got
yeah,
you.
that's the love passage.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
right
yeah.
before it,
Okay.
in verse 3, it says, "If I give all I possess to the poor and give over my body to hardship, that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing." And so, like, you know, you being able to go out of your way, Joey, and talk to that guy at Speedway or whatever.
The convenience stores of
Speedway.
So good.
Advertise a Speedway.
Yeah,
Sponsor us.
Do it. Do it.
Um,
I've said
so
that twice now.
going out of your way to do that, and to give him clothes, and to, you know, pray for him and everything, you didn't do that because you're like, oh, I'm gonna be selfish, and I'm gonna do it so I can look good. It's
Mhm.
because you love people, and you
I
love
do.
God.
I do.
And it's because of your love for God and your love for people that's why you did it, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I agree.
Oh, dude, that's so wild.
Jinx!
Whoa.
You owe me a
Yeah, I think because
rain.
people are the image bearers of God, that
Mhm.
when we love those image bearers of God, we're showing like love towards God.
Beautiful.
Oh yeah.
Up top.
Oh, fire. So kind of what I wanted to say about like the question I asked of like how can we how did I phrase it? Like how can we prepare ourselves through Christ or with God, with God,
with you.
Nice.
to like be more generous. I think a huge aspect
There it is.
is
Thank you.
patience, because
Yes.
like I've been really thinking a lot about patience and like how certain role models in my life have demonstrated patience. And I think it's so important because like, yes, obviously you have to have a mixture of like humility and confidence as well in order to approach those. But I think you need to be patient too, because like you had no idea how long, you know, that whole interaction would take. And like it wasn't exactly planned in your day either. And like with other situations that we may face, like we have to really be like, okay, all right, like I need to be generous. And in order to be generous, like I need to just like take this situation as it's presented to me and like, dude,
Back
what is
again.
going on out there? Oh my gosh.
Presented to you.
It's the
Go.
ambiance. It's the apocalypse.
It's the ambiance of the podcast.
Oh, okay,
Yep.
okay.
It's our background music.
Yeah, okay. It's very
It's
calming.
Milwaukee.
Yeah. It's what?
It's Milwaukee.
Yeah, that's true.
Don't give up our location.
Joey just said it earlier.
626.
So yeah, I think that when you approach a situation with patience, first of all, people notice that. I think people will see that, you know, you're giving them your time, and then not being annoyed by it or anything like that. And like I see this all the time in the hospital, like when you step into a patient room, and like people they just need someone to talk to, and so they're just talking really
They're
really
chirping.
long. What?
I said they're chirping.
Yeah, they're chirping for sure. And when you like when I'm able to I'm not trying to be like prideful, but like when I am patient, when I'm like patient and when I listen to them, I always hear afterwards like, oh, thank you so much for like just listening to me and just like whatever. Like people see that and people
Yeah.
really appreciate that.
That's awesome, dude.
I think one thing that's helped me in situations like that, I've had a few similar interactions, you know, with like homeless people, like when I was in college. But one thing that I noticed is that I would feel less like it's about me and I'm doing this for me if I was putting myself in their perspective. And I noticed I felt drawn to help somebody, not that like, you know, in small ways, like give them some money, or like, you know, there was one interaction I had where a lady needed a ride. She was like at Walmart and she had been left there by her boyfriend or something like that. I don't really know exactly why she was there, but she needed a ride back to her house. But like one thing that's helped me is putting myself in their perspective instead of thinking about the act of doing something generous. Like thinking about, all right, if I was this person, what would I need? You know, what would help me if I was in their shoes? And that's helped me like step out of myself, and so that like the act is not about me. And I've also like I lived in Milwaukee, like inner city Milwaukee for a while, and I got to I got to see a lot of you know, people that are not doing well financially. And I also went to a high school where everybody was rich. I mean, like 90% of the people at that school came from families that were relatively rich, especially compared to, you know, inner city Milwaukee. And I did find that like even among some of my friends, it's hard for them to be generous. It's almost like built into the culture a little bit to avoid helping people. You know, and it's a little sad, but we can like be a light to those people. I felt like God helped me in certain situations to like be an example and show Jesus' love even to some of my friends that maybe would not have seen that as an option. You know, again, this is like the same with Joe. I'm not trying to like brag or anything like that. It's just my experience at least. Like one, think about other people and or put yourself in other people's shoes, and also you can be an example to the people around you on how to act as well.
Absolutely.
Firm handshakes to that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. How are you guys feeling? We're at like just over an hour. Do you want to keep rolling? Do you guys want? I know we have a couple listener
sweating.
questions. It is,
Dude, I'm roasting.
I'm
for everyone
good
out
with
there.
generosity.
We have no AC, and we are just in a studio room with lots of lights and rolling
doing this for you
cameras
guys.
in the middle of August. So it gets a little warm in here, but yeah. Do we want to hit up some questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
You got them pulled up?
Pull it up.
Oh yeah, I got
Pull it
them
up,
pulled
Brandon.
Oh wait, I didn't have them pulled up.
Oh,
Dude,
my
all right, now
goodness.
they're pulled up. Check the
Fired.
specs. All right, the first question
Here we go.
from Anonymous.
Ooh.
It's not. I see who it is right here, but we will not be sharing.
That's fine.
Who would win in a fight,
Oh, boy.
Yoda or Gandalf?
Ooh, Gandalf, 100%.
Oh,
What?
I'm sorry, I'm doing it. I'm doing
Okay.
it.
Dude,
Hold
I say
on.
Yoda 100%.
I'm
Okay.
doing it.
But let's hear it out.
Okay, let's hear your take,
yeah,
Noah,
yeah,
Mr.
let's hear.
Gandalf. Let's go. What do you got?
He's a wizard.
Okay.
He's a wizard. I feel like,
I think Yoda's a wizard too.
yeah, but like Yoda can't just make things like appear or like, you know, cast you off into another like dimension or something. Like I feel like Gandalf has that ability to do something like that, and so
Does
I
he?
feel like Gandalf would just be like, boop, you're gone.
In the Lord of the Rings, Gandalf is a Maya. That's the type of being that he is, and he's tasked with vastly limiting his power, and only using the bare minimum power that he needs to like help the people around him. He could like, you know, win huge battles. He's not really there to intervene too much. He's there to kind of like guide the other characters along and help them where they need help, but not to like, you know, just one shot everybody.
So, if he was not to limit his power,
Yeah.
I think he wins.
That's some like
Unlimited
anime thing. Like, oh, I can't use all my
Okay.
power. Like,
That's fair.
Dude,
That's
like-
fair.
like
But
Goku.
But
I didn't
Okay.
say,
if
I
we're
didn't
going,
say who would win.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Well, if we're going off
the
of
Gandalf
that-
that
Yeah.
we see in the movie is like a small fraction of his real power.
Yeah. But let's
See,
just
here's my thing.
do it.
So
it.
okay, Gandalf, yeah, sure, maybe, but Tom Bombadil, bro, he would kill Yoda.
Dude.
But Tom Bombadil isn't in the equation.
Right,
true.
right.
But
I'm
maybe.
just joking around.
Here- okay, hear me out.
yeah,
So
yeah,
let's
yeah.
say
I'm
they-
sure you and I are on the same page.
Right? Yoda just waddles up with his little walker, and Gandalf walks
It's a
up with his
cane.
with his
Something like that. I don't know.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
And they're talking, they're throwing beef at each other, right? They're chirping it up. And then all of a sudden Yoda just does one of these, his force pulls him, pulls out his lightsaber, and just boom, dead.
I
Or
Game
he
over.
just like
Easy.
snaps his neck. Just
Force choke.
So the Gandalf has the Force too.
Yeah, but to a certain extent.
yeah, but yeah,
Not
it's
when he's
like,
dead.
We don't. Okay, I guess that's the thing. We
He
don't
al-
know how strong the force is compared to like.
The
The Force of
He
Lord of the
also
Rings.
has Glamdring, and remember when he fights the
What the heck is
Balrog,
that?
his sword.
His
Oh.
sword.
He like charges it with lightning. It's literally
True.
glowing, and he stabs a demon.
It could be the
Yeah.
equivalent of a lightsaber.
But
we
here's
have
the thing: Yoda can like deflect or like absorb. Lightning, you know?
Okay, let's do a little
Maybe.
rating.
I'm just
I-
saying he also has a
Yeah.
weapon that's probably lightsaber tier.
I would say though, I'm
Yeah.
gonna vote attack, power, and skill. Not power, but skill is gonna go to Yoda for hand like sword combat, lightsaber combat. Defense might go to Gandalf because he fought off a Balrog.
Yeah, he's like a force.
But I gotta say, like, you think about Yoda fighting against all those other high skilled Sith Lords, and he's trained in that. And Gandalf is good, but I think if they're just no powers, lightsaber and sword, let's say his sword could, withstand a lightsaber, I think Yoda would win that situation.
Yeah, we do have to take them though, like as they are though.
It is.
Yeah.
You got it's very subjective.
Dude, that
it's
would
a good
be-
question.
I just like Yoda more.
AI, pull up.
personally.
I
Gandalf
love
fighting
Yoda,
Yoda.
more. I
Yeah.
love Yoda more. I just feel like
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I feel like Yoda.
I think they would be friends.
Because like they
I
probably
think they would be like,
They
why
would
are we
sit
fighting?
down
They
and,
both
like-
have great quotes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great
great you
quotes.
are.
Yeah.
Also, Gandalf's force field, kind of Gojo like.
Yeah.
Infinity.
There's a character in an anime that has a force field that's very similar to that.
I was gonna say Yoda could use the Jedi mind trick, but Gandalf is not weak-minded, so
Right.
Yeah.
That's
What
a
do
good
you-
yeah,
one.
maybe
That's a good one.
Gandalf would.
I think Yoda.
Okay, but we have to really quick.
like
are
fully
we?
stalemate?
unleashed Gandalf. I think.
Yeah.
is a
Okay.
different
But if it was
story.
I don't know what
movie, let's just take
Yeah.
movie Yoda and movie Gandalf
yeah.
I feel like
I
movie
feel like
Yoda.
Yoda
wins.
was, yeah.
because that's what we know.
The thing is, there's also a difference between like Clone Wars Yoda, lore Yoda, and then
True.
movie Yoda. Because
true.
like movie Yoda, he's like struggling to lift up the ship. It's not like he just like
Yeah.
easily lifts it up.
Is he
like
struggling?
you see. Yeah. Yeah, if you
think so?
go back to Empire Strikes Back,
Yep.
when he lifts up the X-wing,
Right.
it's slow. It slowly rises up out of the swamp, right? If you compare that to other movies, when people are using the Force, you'd be like, Yoda's kind of weak.
Yeah. Well, he's also older, and he also hasn't practiced probably for a while. But yes, I agree.
Okay, go to the fight with Count Dooku.
Oh, dude,
he's
so
like
cool.
he drops his lightsaber and has to like focus all of his attention to lift
Yeah.
up this like pillar, right? In other there's like the Obi-Wan versus Darth Vader fight in the Disney show.
Awesome.
He's like
Awesome.
he's like full on like has all these boulders behind him. He looks way more powerful than
But that
Yoda.
took
Yeah.
him so long to get back into that and get his powers to that.
That's
when
a good
has
scene. I
when
like
has
that
Yoda
scene.
ever done anything like that?
True. We
When
just
he was
haven't seen
chucking
it.
Those,
I
those
think
spinning
Star Wars
discs,
has some
right?
power
yeah.
scaling problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do.
Let's write him a letter.
Yoda technically did that when he was wasn't that when he was
Sidious.
in
He's
the-
fighting
Emperor.
Sidious.
yeah in the
Let's-
chamber
Okay,
the
let's-
Senate chamber.
All right, if you want to go
Yeah.
there, I got. Hold
Well,
on, Luke.
do
Hold
it!
on, Luke. I'm going. He's not the one. Just
Oh yeah, that's Sidious.
Yeah.
he's
Sidious.
he's
Oh,
he
that's
has
true.
to like
Spin,
focus
yeah.
to block it and then slowly like spins it. Right.
Mhm.
He's like really putting a lot of effort into it.
That's true.
So Sidious comes off as more powerful.
Yeah.
In,
Well, he
in
is.
that scene.
He is more
Dark
powerful.
side.
But let's. Okay. Well, I want
I don't
to
know.
continue on
Now you're
this.
starting to convince me, dude.
But we have another good
Oh, yeah.
question too.
Yeah, yeah,
This one's a lot more serious.
yeah.
Oh wait.
But good answers, everyone.
Is
Switch
yours?
gears.
Okay. Mine might be.
It's the same one.
Yeah, it's probably the same one.
Okay.
So yeah, okay. So that was very fictitious, like very fun. All right, now we're moving on to a serious question here. Maybe we
Alright.
should have started with that
We
one.
should-
But okay.
yeah.
That's all right.
How has starting this podcast impacted your own faith walks?
Oh, that's such a good question,
Yes.
man.
Yes.
Who wants to go first?
I can start.
Luke Scatter.
I'll make it quick. But
He'll make it long.
how has it impacted my walk with Christ? I would say, just knowing that being on a podcast and speaking to this microphone and having literally anyone across the world that could listen in to what I'm saying, to what we're saying, it makes me want to check myself and really make sure that I'm knowing what I'm saying and I believe what I'm saying and I'm backing up what I'm saying. I don't want to be in here, sharing my life story, talking about things, and then, the next day turn around doing the exact opposite thing.
Yeah.
Like that's not what I'm here to do. Is it going to happen? I'm sure it will.
Yeah, I agree with you. Pretend like that wasn't just a massive cut. I think that it helps me stay accountable to the things that I say on here, kind of like what you're saying, where in the past where I'm like, oh, like I want to read this, or like this week, I'm going to hold myself accountable and I expect you guys to hold me accountable. I'm going to go back and I'm going to read the Sermon on the Mount. Mound? I always say Mount, dude. I don't know what it is.
It's both
Um,
essentially.
essentially, basically.
the aspect of it.
The aspect.
Yeah.
There's a huge aspect.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think that's exactly what you're saying. Like, I feel much more inclined to practice what I preach, because it would be extremely hypocritical for me to come on here and say like, oh, this is what you should do and this is what I'm doing, but I'm not actually, because that makes me a liar, and liars smell like beef and cheese.
Liars
It
got
is
their
an
pants on
awesome
fire.
quote.
That's a good reference.
Yeah.
Wow.
Who's next?
Oh yeah, popcorn.
Popcorn.
Ooh.
Trilo.
I don't know. I totally agree with everything that you guys are saying. I feel like I feel more responsibility to live righteously, and I got a whole lot of work to do in that department.
We all do.
We all do.
We all do.
Yeah, don't anybody like don't for me I'm a sinful person, and God is working on a lot in my life, and this podcast is not only like a good opportunity to discuss the Bible and righteousness, but it's also a good opportunity to have some responsibility. So I think, yeah, I would agree with that. It gives me like an outlet too for my interest in like theological and philosophical. Oh,
Philosophical.
Filipino.
Dude,
Philosophical
we had
topics.
a listen from the Philippines on
Wait, what? How do
Spotify
you know
or Apple,
that?
because
It
the
shows?
stats. Yeah,
The specs?
yeah. They knew that you
Wow.
guys were on here and they listened.
That's
That's
crazy.
huge.
That's
You
huge.
guys.
Yeah, what?
Yeah, I don't like
It's
the way
like-
you said it.
It,
I don't like the way you
'cause
said
it has
I don't care
like
that you broke your elbow.
it literally has like it just shows the percentage of like 94% from like the U.S. and it has like Germany, all these other couple.
Germany?
There's like one download and it has like 0% of like the listeners, but because it's just like one download.
okay,
but
okay.
we got one from the
That's
Philippines.
sick. Whoever you are, hit us up. We'll collab. We'll fly you in on your own money.
Huge.
And you have to find a place
Yeah.
to stay.
But sorry, continue.
To the listeners also, I
It's about
had a very-
generosity, bro.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
long day at work, and my brain is not working well, so I keep on like forgetting where I'm going. But
Yeah, the vein in his head is popping out.
You're
right now.
doing
He's
great,
like,
Trilo.
"Money."
another thing that I would like for this podcast, and I think this relates to the question, is that just that we do it with the right intention, and that's something that I've thought about and have caught myself also, just thinking about the podcast in the wrong way. Like this is something that it should be. It should be done with the intention of talking about God, being a good witness to the people around us, and it shouldn't be anything more than that. It shouldn't be like, oh, we want to be famous. We want to have as many likes as possible. And it's very easy to do that because everything's so quantified and you can like measure how successful you are. But that's just not what we want for this podcast at all. If we had 2 viewers, we should be doing it for those viewers
And it's fun.
yeah.
Even if no one was listening, I love it. It's just fun, like having talks with you guys, good conversation, good laughs. So, and we can look back at these videos years from now, and we can still listen to our conversations. So,
Yeah. When we look
and
old,
cringe a little bit,
wrinkly.
Oh yeah.
Nora Joyce.
You guys should fight over it.
Should we fight?
Yeah.
There's a set of keys right there.
Go for it, Noah.
Okay. I mean, it definitely has impacted me for the better. Just being able to, have that ability to talk more confidently about my faith. And also getting to hear your guys' perspective on Christianity, on the Bible, on, how God is moving in your lives. And so I think because of hearing that impacts me more to be an in-depth listener and be comfortable with sharing my own opinions or thoughts or ideas. And I just love it. And I just love being able to, again, share my faith with others and not be afraid to show them like who I am as a person. And and doing my best, like all of you have said so far, just doing my best to stay true to that representation that I'm putting out there, and be a good witness to others. And so definitely has impacted me in that way, and just also has been impacting for me just to grow in my knowledge of the faith, whether that's reading my Bible on certain topics that we do, or learning more about like the history as to like, oh, why would this, be so mind-blowing to the early church followers, like when they were hearing this teaching from Jesus or something. Like it's just really cool to learn more about that, and yeah, just learning how to communicate my faith better. And again, we're all on a journey, we're all learning, and we're all growing in different aspects. And yeah, I think it's definitely just helping me out for the better in that way, and just growing in my faith. So yeah,
Love
it's
it.
awesome.
Teaches you
Joyce,
patience too.
bring
when
us
you're
home.
Sweating your bows off, eh?
Too.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Uncomfortability.
Bring us home, Joey's.
Well, I think, yeah, all of you guys had great, inspiring things to say. For me, it just comes down to, honestly, freedom. It's given me that now that I've put myself out there as someone that openly tells people that I'm a Christ follower, and I'm not ashamed of it, and that I've made it known publicly. It's just like has given me just that freedom of like I don't feel like ashamed of being a Christian anymore. Not that I did before necessarily, but there's just no shame, and I'm willing to talk about it with anybody. But it was definitely in the beginning not something I thought that we'd be doing. It to me at first it started out as a joke, and then Luke started buying things. And then, but honestly, like just having this,
Joey's like, now I gotta
just for us, man, and just all of us getting together, having that accountability, and just being able to be free and talk about God is really cool. It's changed my life for sure, because it helps me stay grounded in my faith. So I think that this decision was a good decision, Luke, and I'm glad you started buying things.
There you go.
Well, we're overall, it wasn't, this isn't, we're very blessed in general to have each other, to have this opportunity, and like no credit to me, no credit to like any of us except for being here. But
on the opposite side of that, like by you making that decision, just as how we started the original Bible study group, it's one small decision can lead to great things, and who knows what this leads to? Maybe amazing things, maybe okay things, maybe great things, but you never know where it can lead. So you might as well just have that freedom, tying the two together.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just jump for it, go for it.
They may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom.
There you go.
And we hope too, for all of you that are out there listening, we really are praying, and the goal that we're doing this is for anyone out there to take something away that's going to draw you closer, one step closer to Christ. Maybe it's a question that pops in your head, or it's just something that's God's placed in your heart, but that's what we're here for. We want to have fun. Hopefully we're entertaining a little bit, but we're trying to spread the word of God, and just share our life experiences, share our thoughts. We're just a bunch of dudes hanging out, having a good time, talking into some microphones. So there you have it. That is a wrap for the episode. Just remember to go be generous. Don't be afraid. Have a giving, loving heart. If God's placing something on your heart, don't be afraid to go after it and chase after it, because it's a great feeling. God's calling us to do it. It's good for you. It's good for your relationship with Christ. It's going to draw you closer. It's humbling. And yeah, so off of that, remember to like, comment, and subscribe.
And share.
And share.
And check out the Instagram.
And give us 5 stars.
And give us 5 stars.
Give us your money. Just kidding.
And
Don't
all
do
your
that.
money. This is the Campfire Council podcast.
Generosity. Give me your money.
Give me your money, dude.
Oh my gosh, it is
AC.
hot as hell in here.